Well, good evening, TSSG family, and welcome to Markup Monday. I am Waynell. You're in the TSSG space, and here I share Christian content that is largely inspired by and or based on the Sunday school lessons. I do serve both the international and the legacy lesson communities, and I'm on about a minute early tonight just because I saw people on and I got excited and I was sitting here, so I was like, why not come on? So I'm happy that you're here. I love sharing Monday nights with you. And we've done this, I want to say, for 4 years in this space. And Sister Patrice has the #1 spot tonight. So thank you so much for that, Sister Patrice. And then I was reading the comments before I came on, and Sister Patrice says, this is our last Markup Monday in this form. And I didn't think I was going to be emotional about it, but oh my goodness, this is our last Markup Monday in this format. And it has been a joy to come on these Monday nights and share this time with you. If you've been checking your emails, if you've been watching videos for the last almost 30 days, I have been sharing that we are moving to the TSSG Connect. And so there are more than 75 people already, maybe 80 people who are part of the TSSG Connect. So thank you for believing in TSSG in a way that will bring you into our next experience. I appreciate you. If you have not checked out the TSSG Connect, I gave you the link in the description box down below. Just click on it. It is more than Markup Monday. We'll be taking Markup Monday into the Connect, and we will do it twice a month. So that should help all of our schedules a little bit, both in terms of efficiency, and we're going to use the sessions as longer sessions. They're going to be 75-minute sessions with each group. And we're going to actually cover 2 lessons in that session. You're also going to get your TSSG notes downloaded to you each week, so you don't have to worry about going to do that. You're going to have access to our quarterly training. Listen, there's a lot in there. If you have not checked out the TSSG Connect, please, please, please do so. I appreciate you all so very much. And there are, I won't call your names tonight, but there are some of you who are regular supporters of this ministry, and I've sent you personal notes to tell you how much I appreciate you, and I'm excited about all of us going into that space together. So thank you for being here. My ask as we go into this next Sunday school year, it's back to school time in Sunday school, is that you will invite someone into this space. I'm going to answer a couple of questions before I do this Markup Monday segment because I have been asked some really great questions, and I'll take maybe just a couple. I'm watching the time, but if you have a question about the TSSG Connect, let me know your question and I'll do my best to answer it here. Thank you, Sister Tanya, for reminding everyone to please click that thumbs up like button. And if you're a newbie, I want to say welcome to you. You've just joined an amazing community of people. If you're looking for great Bible study, a place where people are learning and growing, you have just found your tribe. And Sister Marcia, thank you. That's going to lead me into one of the questions that I have been asked. Great question. Will you still review the lesson? And the answer is yes. When this channel started, that's what I did, was review the lesson. And so we will continue to review lessons. Those will continue to run here on YouTube. You do not need to be a member of the TSSG Connect or a partner of the Connect to take advantage of the lesson studies. They will continue to be here. You will also still have a freebie, a Markup Monday freebie that's on the website. I hope that you'll continue these habits of studying that we have developed. If you're inside of the Connect, you will have a little bit different Markup Monday download because it's going to have some information already populated for you in it. But that's an advantage of being part of the Connect. So you'll still have that. I will still review the lesson. I am so excited this year. I did open up a call for teachers, and today is the deadline for those video applications. I have gotten some really great video applications, and I'm excited about expanding our teaching capacity so that we can reach more people and we can do more. And I believe that God is moving me into a space where I won't just review lessons, but I'm so grateful to be able to help Sunday school and church school ministries grow. So if you're a pastor, a superintendent, a Christian ed leader, and I can help you and do something very strategic with your local Sunday school, your jurisdictional Sunday schools, I am happy to do that. So yes, thank you. You're so welcome, Brother Aaron, for Markup Monday. So that's another question that's come up though with replays. I want to say that if you are part of the Connect, yes, you will have access to replays of Markup Monday. Those will drop for you every week by Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. The replay will be available for you. I just need time to edit it from Monday night and get it put up, but I'll do it as quickly as I can. And I've been asked if people who are not part of the Connect will be able to see it in any way. That's a question that I cannot answer tonight, because I will allow the Connect to make a decision about whether what happens in the Connect stays in the Connect, because the effort is to create a safe environment where we can talk about what we see and issues that we see, and talk about text and challenging things. And I never want to do anything that infringes on the integrity of the group. So I will allow the groups respectively. I will allow both the legacy and the international communities to determine whether or not they will want that streamed based on the conversations and all that we've had in that week. So that's the intent there. You probably noticed that I just said that there will be I should clarify, going into September, there will be, right now, there's a UMI. My church will continue to use the UMI curriculum, and I've already done a video on that. You can go back and check it out. About 2 weeks ago, I looked at what's coming up ahead. So my church will continue to use the UMI curriculum, and I will look at the international. That means for my Team Kojic family, we've got some figuring out to do. All right. So just know that I'm aware of that. And I'm already working on something that I don't want to mention in this space, but I will be in touch, and we'll talk about what I think will happen with the Team Kojic material. So hopefully that's enough information. Again, it is chock full of advantages. And my intent right now is really to have deeper relationships. I feel like God has allowed me to have very broad relationships. I'm grateful for nearly 41,000 subscribers organically on this channel. But I'm very interested in kind of a small group feel and people that I can go deeper in the word with and have deeper relationships. So if that's you and you would love to connect, we also have a private Facebook page that is going to open up here in just a few days. We've been populating some information there and getting it ready for you. But yeah, it's going to be amazing, and I'm excited. So thank you all for your confidence in this ministry. Let's prepare to go into our preview for this week's lesson. We are on the final lesson for this summer quarter, and this is called Sabbath Reforms. Sabbath Reform. Hold on, I was going to tell you one more thing. Oh, next Monday, we will actually have a teacher appreciation with all of the teachers who have supported and carried this Sunday school year for us. So y'all, please make plans to be here next Monday evening. And while I have them on, we may together do a quick Markup Monday. And we'll see your comments and all, but we may do that together as a part of our teacher appreciation. But September 1st is when the Connect actually does launch. And so our very first official Zoom Markup Monday will be on, it's Labor Day. It is Labor Day, but I'm gonna eat my hot dog or whatever I'm having, all beef, and I will come and sacrifice and be here with you, because I want to. I'm at the point now where there's a lot going on. There's always going to be a holiday. There's always going to be a meeting. There's always going to be a convention. There's always going to be something. And I'm noticing that Mondays are getting to be very popular with people. We've been on here for 4 years at 7 o'clock. Now everybody wants to have something at 7 o'clock on Monday nights, but we're going to preserve that for first and third Mondays for the Connect. So yes, Labor Day, I will be here. And yes, there will be a replay. All right, let's go to Sabbath Reforms. We're going today to Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 15 through 22. I'm going to pray and we'll get into previewing this lesson together. Gracious Father, I thank you. You are an amazing God, and you are so mindful of us and all that we need. And thank you for what you've given to us. And thank you for your presence. Thank you for your blessings, your benefit. Thank you for your love. And thank you, God, that you give us all of this with only the expectation that we will love you back, and that we will give our lives in service, that we will live as obedient disciples to your word, and that we will live out our lives in a way that causes others to want to know more about you and to see light shining in us that makes them curious about our Heavenly Father. God, I pray that you'll bless everyone who's present tonight on this Markup Monday. I thank you for this idea, this vision, this space that you've even given me inside of Markup Monday and all that it has meant. Thank you for the growth that we have experienced as a community. And I pray that as we move forward into the vision that you've given for this ministry, that you will continue to bless us, that you will expand us, that you will continue to allow us to grow deeper and to be better for you. We love you today. We give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. We're going to Nehemiah chapter 13, verses 15 through 22. Here we go. In those days, saw I in Judah some of the treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and the sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them, and said unto them, Why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth, they came no more on the Sabbath. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves, and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. This is our reading for this week as we look at the title, Sabbath Reforms. Sabbath Reforms. You know, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, when you saw this title, what did you think about Sabbath Reforms? What did you think about this? What did you think about the title, Sabbath Reforms? I'm going to tell you what I actually wrote into my Markup Monday document. I said, I feel convicted already. I feel convicted already because as I read that passage, and I read it in a couple of translations, like the tone is so sharp and so serious that when I say, Dr. Bonnie Perry Adams, changes have to be made. And it made me feel a certain way because the word Sabbath, when I think about what does it mean to create like these periods of rest. And let me say this as a precursor, and I'll say it again in the teaching video. Am I teaching this week? I don't think I'm teaching this week. Let me just say this, that in this lesson this week, I do not intend to debate the day of the Sabbath. I never have. Anytime we've taught on the Sabbath in this community, I've always said, I'm not here to debate the Sabbath. I am here to explore kind of the concept of what Sabbath is. And that's why I said I feel convicted already, because Sabbath was intentional. It was given to actually allow people that space of rest. And the reason I said I feel convicted is just yesterday, my pastor sent me a note. We were texting back and forth, and then he goes, pace yourself. And that's something that I have to be told regularly, is to pace myself. And so one of the things that I have committed to, y'all know I just had a milestone birthday, but one of the things that I've committed to is that every month I am going to take 50 hours that belong to me. And I know that's not exactly the intent. The Sabbath was a weekly thing, but work with me here as I talk about kind of like what I think when I think about these, where we're supposed to pull back and not just be consumed all the time. And when I'm not careful, like I will go from sun up to sundown because I'm trying to do all these things. And yeah, that's a whole other thing. But we'll keep talking about what Sabbath means. It's holy day requirements, District Missionary says. And yes, Sister Maxie, there's the question. And you're going to be asked this question in your class somewhere. Somebody's going to want to know, is the Sabbath a Saturday or is it a Sunday? I don't really have an answer that I'm going to argue for, but I will continue to talk about, yes, Dr. Bonnie Perry Adams, the balance that we are expected to have inside of Sabbath. All right. So those were my thoughts on it. And I know that I need to be better about observing rest periods and Sabbath. I love the passion, Sister Allen says, of Nehemiah. We are so quick to forget. Just in chapter 10, they vowed absolutely that they would keep the Sabbath. And I think that's what I was thinking, Sister Allen. A lot of us make these promises, but then like life starts lifing, right? And we get into the things that we're into, and we are quick to forget or not honor those times when we do need to dial back. Yes, we all need a time of rest. And so, yes, we should take those times to make sure that we go back. And they do quickly forget, Sister Ernestine Tab, what God had done for them. They forgot what God had done for them. They forgot the holy day requirements. They did not have this balance, right? So yes, we all need a time of rest. And we all need to make sure specifically that we are setting aside time for God. Reverend Nelson says the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That's powerful. I thank you for that, Reverend. All right, this is Markup Monday. So what we're about to do is we're going to look at our background, and we are going to also, and background should be quick. We've been in Nehemiah for a minute, so we'll just go quickly through. We're not going to do all of it. Go. You can look at your previous notes on that, the last 2 weeks for sure. Let's take a look. Oh, we're going to go in small chunks. If you're a first timer, tell me in the comments you're a first timer. We're going to go in small chunks. And this is the format. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you think about? What does it remind you of? What curious questions do you have? What do you want to know more about? Sister Darlene says reforms makes changes in something, typically a social, political, or economic institution or practice, in order to improve it. And Sister Erlene Conway says, keep the Sabbath as God said it. Absolutely. And you got an amen, Corner, Reverend Nelson, for sure. All right, let's go. Let's talk background for a second. We've been following this story the entire quarter with the children of Israel returning back to Jerusalem, the rebuilding of their land, going back to nothing. They've rebuilt the temple. We've dedicated walls. We've had celebrations. And now here we are talking about Sabbath. So that's the quick down and dirty. There are major themes in Nehemiah, like his leadership and rebuilding the wall and commitment and the unity of the people. All that's in the notes before. You can check out the last couple of weeks' lessons on the notes. All right. Let's go verses 15 and 16, and you can start to share with me in the comments what you see, think, feel. What does it remind you of? What's the tone? What do you want to know more about? In those days, saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day that they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. All right, let's go. What do you see? First thing I noted was in those days. What days are we talking about? What days are these? You'll want to be able to mark. When you see a time marker, you want to figure out what that time marker is pointing us to. There were, Sister Connerson, I wrote down the word at a later point. I said, is this a warning or is this a threat? But yeah, this is a warning. His tone is so like it's sharp. It is stern. It is observant. Good evening, Mother Everett. Good evening to you. It is sharp. It is stern. What is meant by all manner of burden, Sister Patrice asked. They were doing all kinds of stuff. And that was very King Jamesy, Sister Patrice. I agree with you on that. Ha! Yeah, we need to define victuals. Or is it victuals? I know it's victuals. I do know that. But we'll need to define what that is. Nehemiah 20. They were working, Sister Jeanette. Absolutely. They were working. And Sister Allen says, don't mock God. The Jews were basically exploiting what they may have considered to be a loophole in the law. The law does not have loopholes. Oh, Sister Allen, I could talk about that forever. But no, the law does not have loopholes. I was just talking to my best friend about how we do create our own ways. And yeah, loopholes. That's exactly what you're saying. We're always looking for a way around. While some of them were not breaking the letter of the law, they were breaking the spirit of the law. Oh, that is a powerful thought. That is a powerful thought. Oh, yeah. Let's see here. 2023, y'all couldn't do this easier. Why were they selling food, Sister Marsha? That's your curious question. I love it. Sister Patrice says it's easy to get carried away. Yup, making a living out here, living your best life. Absolutely. Yes, Dr. Bonnie Perry Adams, loopholes in the law. I'm with you. My God. I also noticed here that the leader, Nehemiah, is observant. And that's a leadership principle. Like sometimes as leaders, you think things are just on autopilot or whatever, but you got to watch, because he seems to be trying to, as much as they are working, like what we've seen in recent lessons is he's not trying to lose the integrity of the thing that's going on. I think in yesterday's lesson review, I said something like the walls were not just brick and mortar. This was not a celebration of we put up something made out of brick and mortar. It was literally the spiritual renewal. And this seems like he is so like, even the little things, he's watching everything. He's watching daily life inside of this city now. They seem to suffer from short-term memory. Absolutely. And hi, Reverend Flowers. This was a priority reform and relationship reform. Absolutely. It was not just about a city or bricks or anything. It was about spiritual connection and relationship. For example, they may have said something like, we are not allowed to transport items for selling, but there's no law saying we can't buy from someone who does. Absolutely. That's the loophole. All right. Let's see here. Let me keep going here. He said he talks about what he sees, and he sees people, they're men of Judah. There's wine presses, treading wine presses. I looked at all the types of work being done, bringing in sheaves. You know, I wanted to sing the hymn when I heard that, right? Bringing in the sheaves. All right, yeah. So lading asses, wine, grapes, and figs. I think what Sister Patrice said, all manners of burdens, all kinds of work is what they were doing. And specifically, I said this person is observant. They note what they see. They are not asking questions. They are simply saying what they see. These are statements of fact. I look at the punctuation in the text, and the punctuation is straightforward. There's sentences and statements. They're just matter of fact in their tone. There is work taking place. The actions, people are working on the Sabbath. They're engaging in these activities like treading wine presses, harvesting crops, transporting goods. And Nehemiah sees these activities happening. He also specifically calls out the sellers. And I went back and put that in my notes after I got to the end of the passage, because he speaks directly to the sellers. And the timing is the problem statement here. Work is not the problem. Work is not at issue. The timing of the work is at issue, and that is the Sabbath. That is our issue. God needs our time, and we need to have to set aside time just for God. Yes, ma'am, Sister Allen. Let's see. Absolutely forgot what they said earlier about keeping the Sabbath. Yes, and we make time for the doctor to go traveling, to go shopping. God needs his time also. Sister Allen, that's interesting. Last week, I guess I was anticipating this lesson a little bit, and I wondered, like, I was thinking about tithing. And I know that we tithe, you know, and bring our tithe into the storehouse and our offering. But I was literally thinking, like, what would happen if like a tithe of my day was given to God? And I think I do. Like, I give my time and commitment in terms of, you know, my devotion time in the morning and what I do at night. But I literally thought, like, what if 2.4? I don't spend 2.4 hours every day. Some days I do that because I'm like really intense in what I'm finishing up or what I'm digging into. But like every day, if I gave a tithe to God, what would that look like in terms of my time? Because we always say that we don't have a lot of time, but he's not asking for all of our time. He just doesn't want to be forgotten as we plan out our time. So yes, just to keep the Sabbath holy as they were taught. Is the priest Ezra there? Oh, Sister Marsha, good question, because we know that our books are written in the same time frame. That's a great, and he was mentioned in the passage in yesterday's lesson as well. My curious questions. Why were the men of Judah engaged in these labor-intensive tasks on the Sabbath? What motivated them to bring the produce and goods specifically on the Sabbath? Like, what was that about? Did they disregard the Sabbath intentionally, or was there some other reason behind their action? How did Nehemiah react when he saw these activities on the Sabbath? And were these common occurrences, or were they exceptions to the usual practices of observing the Sabbath? So those are my curious questions in verses 15 and 16. I'll keep going. I'm watching our time. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. Yeah, the men of Tyre are mentioned here. Who are these men of Tyre? Where is that? Why are they called out from where they're from? Right? The narrative continues, is what I said in verses 17 and 18 again. And there are lots of questions that are raised in 17 and 18. Nehemiah didn't want to repeat a bondage for disobedience to God's law, Sister Connerson. Absolutely. Because he does point them back. Like, hey, didn't y'all learn before when this happened with the people, with our forefathers? Don't you see where that landed us before? So this is what we're doing. All right. Who are these nobles? And why does he separate them? Let's see, Mother Otis. I beg to differ. God doesn't need us. We need him. If we don't praise him, the very rocks will cry out. And every day is a day of worship, not just one day, but every day. Every day is a day of worship. And he does. Every day we owe him our time. We need to be faithful and set aside. If I set aside 4 p.m. I set aside 4 p.m. every day. I need to keep that time. If that's my time, I need to keep that time. They were cursing themselves because they agreed to keep the Sabbath. I agree to 4 p.m. every day. Keep it. So last year on one of my trips to Israel, we visited a community that was not a Christian community. But one of the things that I appreciated was that every day between 2 and 4 p.m., their community shuts down. There is nothing, no work that takes place every day between 2 and 4. And that is like one of their foundational practices, that rest is holy, that rest is, we're designed to have that. And so when I told you I felt convicted reading this title, that just takes me back, because this time last year I was like, oh, I got to set aside time. Like, give me at least, I actually had an hour as well, Sister Joanne. Last year I started doing that. I couldn't get to 2 hours just yet, but I set aside like an hour as well. But it was hard for me to literally, in fact, at the beginning of that hour, I would make myself go sit in a chair with nothing for 10 minutes. And that may not seem like a lot to anybody, but for me to sit for 10 minutes with nothing in my hand, no computer, no engagement. Like, I even had to stop myself from taking my computer in my room at night. It's bad, y'all. I'm serious when I say he does need, our time belongs to God, but there's also time that he wants to give us rest. And we need to rest. So no, Sister Darlene, they haven't learned their lesson yet. And you're right, Sister Tanya. If you don't learn the lessons from the past, you're just going to repeat it. And Nehemiah is dealing with the stiffness of that generation. Absolutely. And he says, I contended with them. I underlined that. And then I went ahead and made it 2023. He called them out. He called them out on their bad behavior. He absolutely did. And he identifies their behavior as evil. I was like, whoa, like, that's strong when you call something or someone evil. Like, so this was a strong rebuke for me for their actions. And he actually says, let's see. How is this said in here? At some point, he's like, if you do this again, I will lay hands on you. And I was like, you can catch these hands? I think that's a little further ahead, but we'll see here. Let's get there in a second. So why is Nehemiah why is he so passionate about this? Why is he willing to even resort to physical restraint to do this, or physical action? Because we do see that in the text. I wonder how people responded to his confrontation. And this makes me think about, how do we because I don't want to just tell this story about Nehemiah. Like, you got to see yourself in the text. So how do we confront behaviors that are bad? How do we call those things out? How do we deal with them? And on the flip side, what do you do when you are called out on something that doesn't align with what you should be doing? Yes, there is authoritative and there is accountability. Absolutely, Reverend Nelson. And yes, Sister Connerson, Nehemiah took action. He sees a problem and he doesn't ignore it. He doesn't just see a problem and ignore it. He speaks out about it. Absolutely. Mother Otis says we are to have balance in life. I do believe that. Nehemiah, did not wait for the people to decide to do right. He made decisions for the good of the nations. Yes, to shut the gates. And there are times, right, that our leaders make decisions, and everybody didn't have to understand why the gates are being shut. He did not take a survey. Do y'all think we should shut the gates today? No, he made a decision to preserve the integrity of the Sabbath, to absolutely shut the gates. And he says, again, verse 19, 18, it's like, you didn't learn the first time when this evil came upon us, and now you want to profane the city again. All right. So what else did I ask? I think that's all I asked there. I think that's all I asked. The gates began to be dark before the Sabbath. What does that mean? Oh, great call out, Sister Ernestine Tab. That's fantastic. Great call out there. Let me read verses 19 and 20. And it came to pass, this is where she's leading us, that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened until after the Sabbath. And some of my servants said at the gate, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. So the merchants and the sellers of all kind were lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. So action is taken. Yep. Take action to correct it, for sure, Sister Conway, for sure. Nehemiah loved the people, and he didn't want to see them back in bondage again. He didn't hold a meeting. He didn't ask the elders or the Levites. He made a decision, and he knew it was good for the nation of Israel as a whole. Sister Allen says, absolutely. And again, the style of writing here is still just very straightforward. Like, look at the punctuation. We're now no more questions. The only questions that are raised in this passage are not about a survey. They are about accountability. I think Reverend Nelson used that word. The only question he's asked has turned the light back on them to say, like, what are you doing? Like, what is this about? Did you learn anything before? Don't you realize? And so, let's see here. Who spent the night by the walls of Jerusalem? Mother Otis asked. Wish we had leaders that cared about people's well-being enough to say, we are not going to do this. Oh, that's good, Sister Allen. That is so good. We are not going to condone this type of behavior. We're not going to do it because it displeases God. That is so good. That is so good. Let's see here. When it began to be dark, that's a timing statement. He orders the gates to be shut, and they are not to reopen until the Sabbath is over. He assigned servants to guard the gates. And that's what Mother Otis just called out. And they were to remain there and make sure that the gates remain closed until after the Sabbath. Nehemiah does set boundaries. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's Johnny McElroy. He set boundaries. Sister Darlene says Nehemiah reinforces the rules to protect the people from not obeying the Sabbath and to protect God's wrath from coming upon the children of Israel once again. Because you don't want this again. He's like, I don't want this again. All right. So yes, we've kind of started talking about it. My questions were, why did he choose to close the gate specifically before it began to be dark? What was I asking here? Let me read my own note here. What would have been the significance of closing the gates before the Sabbath and not just on the Sabbath day itself? So yeah, he closed it before. So I'm asking, like, why before? Why not 6 o'clock in the morning on the Sabbath, 3 a.m. Why not on the Sabbath? But he does it specifically before. Again, there are two sides to this because we're reading like in these chunks. Nehemiah is taking action, but I just have to wonder, like, what are the people on the other side thinking? What are they feeling? What must that be like? And how does his directive really affect what I consider like the economy or the flow of commerce in and around the city? I may not get that out of the text, but anytime you talk about shutting, like, that's what happened during COVID, right? People were really upset It wasn't about the Sabbath, but businesses actually challenged the government. They were challenging their governments in federal court as to whether they could shut down businesses during that, because we don't like it when commerce gets shut down. So that's why I say, what are these people thinking who have essentially been making their living as a part of their income on the Sabbath? What are they thinking? What were the challenges that they faced? I wondered about challenges because we're reading this as a narrative, and it is a narrative, but we're reading it without any insight into, somebody's always trying to buck the system, right? You do something extreme as a leader. Everybody's not okay with this. We're reading it like just kind of like it just happened with no pushback, but I'm just curious. I won't get that in the text, but my mind was a curious question. What was the pushback like? Because I know somebody was not excited. Sister Allen is on fire tonight. Sister Tanya, yes, she is. All right. Sister Otis asked, Mother Otis asked, is this the same as a shut-in? Oh, good thought. Interesting thought. It used to be a time when you couldn't buy certain things on the Sabbath. Absolutely, Sister Marcia. Pastor Dion, doing for them what they need, not just what they want, is an example of good leadership. Absolutely. Yep. It does cause issues with commerce, Sister Tanya. Hey, Sister Minor, good evening from Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, thank you. Please do press that thumbs up like button. Please, please, please. All right, let's roll to 21 and 22 and we'll be done. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If you do this again, I will lay hands on you. Okay, it may not be quite read like that, but that's how I heard it in my head. For that time forth, they came no more on the Sabbath, and I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, oh my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. Sister Patrice said, I really think he meant laying hands. You can catch these hands. He was here is this is the lay hands. This was it. He was serious for sure, Sister Danette. Let's see what Reverend Nelson says. It seems that they were chasing the bag. Absolutely. They weren't going to come too early as it may interfere with their regular flow. Plus the people inside the gate could sell the other days, right? Okay. Y'all watch the questions that are being asked here. He's always triggering our minds to think about a why behind what's going on. No. You don't. That's why we're on Markup Monday. You don't have to understand right now. We're not here to understand right now. We're just here to observe and to ask questions. We'll understand later. That's Siri, y'all. Siri says she didn't understand. It's her job to tell me, isn't it? She's supposed to understand everything. All right. Let's see here. Yes. Let's see. An explanation was that they would get arrested. They would be arrested. Okay. But wasn't it fun to think about laying hands in the modern context? You can catch these hands. That I just kept hearing that in my head. I know better. I know King James does not say you can catch these hands. I do know that. All right. Mother Otis says, how did Nehemiah threaten the merchants that spent the night outside the wall? Later, he will lay hands on some of the Jews. Yep, for unlawful marriages. I had a note about the unlawful marriages earlier, and I didn't read that, Sister Allen, because I was just like, stay focused, Wayne, stay focused. All right. Then I testified. Okay, so I wrote it this way. My bullets are, I see action. He questioned their action. I see a warning, and I said, or is this really a threat? I couldn't decide if I think it's a warning or a threat. I see a promise of consequences, and then what happens from that moment on. So he says, then I testified against them, and that is using your words again to speak against something is the way I phrase that. I questioned their actions. Why are you lodging about the wall? Why are you doing this? And then I gave you a warning. If you do this again, there is going to be a promise of consequences. I will lay hands on you. There will be consequences and repercussions, one friend of mine used to say, if you do this again. So that to me spoke to his seriousness. And then from that moment on, I just said hashtag get right. From that point on, they didn't come on the Sabbath anymore. And that kind of said to me that they knew he wasn't playing. So how do they know he was not playing games? What is Nehemiah's reputation, right? Lord bless Brother Brandon, and we're going to put him in time out and actually ban his comments, but you bless him wherever he is. Bless him wherever he is. Thank you, Sister Janice. All right. Yes, the enemy is so slick. All right. What else did I say? I just looked at how directly Nehemiah speaks to the merchants and the sellers. he questions a lot of behavior inside the city and these merchants. And again, to have them question and then to warn them what he was not going to stand for. So why does Nehemiah address the merchants specifically about their lodging near the wall? Like, why was that a big deal? He didn't even want them around looking like you were trying to do it. Why is that a big deal to him? What prompted the merchants to set up near the wall in the first place? How did the merchants respond to Nehemiah's warning? And what does this phrase, I will lay hands on you, what is this warning really about? Oh, was the fact that the merchants didn't come around again, was that truly as a result of Nehemiah's warning only? Or were there other factors that could have possibly been involved? So yes, let's see here. How I thought I put him in timeout. Yes. Okay. Let's see here. He was waiting for an opportunity to get in and tempting the Jews to come out and buy their ware. Yes, Mother Otis. See, you got a mind like me. He's laying on of hand. Was it like Joe Lewis? See? Yeah, I have fun when I read Bible text. I do. The merchants were selling without challenging his authority by staying by the wall, and Nehemiah checked them with the quickness. Absolutely, Johnny. Absolutely. All right, to lay hands is to have them arrested. Reverend Nelson, don't take the fun out of this. We want them to catch these hands. Okay. We'll act right, Reverend. Reverend doesn't want us to show out too bad. But no, it does mean that they will be arrested. But he took very seriously what was going on. That was honestly what I took from the text, is that he was absolutely not playing. So we do have to be on guard at all times for distractions. Y'all listen, that is the end of this Markup Monday. All of the things that you need for this lesson, the 20 questions are posted. The teaching template, the interactive teaching template is posted. I got a note about the interactive teaching template. Please remember that it's a template. So it's only intended to give you everything as a guide for your teaching. You still need to go in and plug in your own teaching points. I don't give you mine because you may not be teaching what I studied. It may not have resonated with you in that way, and you have to teach your own class. So you plug in your teaching points, but it's already populated with the scripture. It's giving you an icebreaker activity. It gives you spaces for your Bible points. All the scriptures are already populated for you. And it even has a 5-day challenge for your class on one of the next to the last slide. So it's really got some thought put into it to help you really create an experience for your class. So those are able to be downloaded. And once again, I've already seen the indicator that our new mom there will be a kid pack tomorrow. So again, y'all keep our creative Mrs. Megan in your prayers. She, her husband, and their little one, but baby is 4 weeks old now. No, she's not quite 4 weeks old. She's 3.5 weeks old. And I guess mom says that when she's sleeping, she cranks out the kid pack. She loves us. So I appreciate her, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for 4 amazing years on this Markup Monday platform, and I am excited for those of you who will come with us into the TSSG Connect. I get to see your faces in 2 weeks. I get to see you. I don't just get to call your name, but I will get to see you next week. Please join me here as we have an opportunity just to hang out with the teachers from the teaching team from this year. If y'all have questions that you want to ask them, curious questions about them, y'all email me. Y'all help me come up with some good questions. It's going to be fun, kind of random interview style with them, and we'll talk about some of the fun things that have happened this year. And then, like I said, we may just grab our Bibles and go a quick round robin and do a Markup Monday together while you all continue to share with them. And please, I'm going to tell you this now, please be prepared even next week. We want to be a blessing. These teachers have not charged a single thing for sharing with us. They have not charged a single thing. And so I appreciate that. I always tell people that this ministry happens because of people's kindness. And so I appreciate all these teachers. If tonight you choose to share, I've given you the QR code on the screen. And thank you for those of you who share monthly contributions. And you continue to help this ministry stay afloat. I appreciate you. Listen, let me get out of here. I got 3 minutes to get a swig of water, as my daddy would say, and I'll be on for the Markup Monday with our international friends. I love you all more than you know. I really do. And I can't wait to see you next week and get inside of the TSSG Connect. Hey, Brother Terrence. Good to see you on. All right, everybody, I'll see you a little bit later. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye.